It's finally here. The Buyer's Brief book, the digital edition manuscript, is now available on March 14th during our in-person GenAI University hackathon here in Austin, Texas. We were all heads down all day building, creating things with AI, and we were also launching our book. When we did it live, we had our entire MarketSauce system running in the background for those that were submitting their business context to us live. We created their buyer's blueprints and showed you exactly how this process works with a system behind it, but also how you can do it right now with a simple copy and paste and a GPT that we've included with the book with all of the instructions for how to go about discovering exactly what drives your best customers' buying decisions in seconds. And you can find all of that at geniuniversity.com/bbbook. The link is below this video. If you haven't already, get an order and you get access to everything that I showed you inside of this demonstration, plus some more goodies that we're going to add in as the book launch continues to go. Thank you for the support, and I really hope you find the contents of this book valuable and useful to you and your business. All right, let's dive on in. What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the virtual book launch for the Buyer's Brief book. Excited to see you guys here. Got some special, obviously big announcements today in the launch of our book, but some cool, exciting things that we've never done before live that you guys are going to get a special taste of because you're here. Welcome in, everybody. Say hey and let me know where you're tuning in from. Down here in Austin, Texas, with some members of our community for a full day hackathon today. We've been working through different projects and making some headway in the world of AI in our businesses. Good to see Penny tuning in from Indiana, Assad, Spain. Good to see you guys. We'll give everyone a couple minutes to join and then we'll kick things off. Can you guys hear me all right? Love to see your smiling faces. Give me a thumbs up. And it's great to see you, Marcus.
Can't see any faces.
Right across the room.
No number.
All right, good to see you, Z, Lori, Larray, Dr. Hakeem. Good to see you guys. Michael, Marcelo, Derek, Emmanuel. A full house today. John T, Sergio. All right, guys.
drhplewis@gmail.
We will kick things off here in just another minute. And rock and roll. Greetings from the UK, Emmanuel.
And it was capital R-I cap N. Text. It's
All
AI.
right. Cool. Well, let's go ahead and kick things off. We'll keep an eye on the room if anyone jumps in. But thank you all for being here with us here on the live launch. This is the first official launch of the book, but we did decide to not launch today on Amazon due to a few different reasons. But one mainly, I wanted to make sure that the book itself and the resources and everything were set up and just really buttoned up and squared away before we went to Amazon to publish to the broader audience. Those of you here as part of the community and as part of our initial book pre-orders are going to get a first look at a live demonstration where real time, I'm going to create part of your buyer's blueprints with just a little bit of input from you. And so I am going to need your participation in this event in order to get something out of it. And by get something out of it, I mean you get something out of it. And by that something, a fully built out buyer's blueprint, which is section 1 of the book. And I'm going to do this because I've been practicing magic over the past 3 months and actually working through a bunch of automations with one of our mastermind members, Chris Lannon, who is here in Austin with us today. And we've been working through how do we potentially deliver one of these buyer blueprints to somebody while live on a call, but how can we do it for everybody here all at once? And we're going to do just that. And so everyone here with us live right now, take a look inside of the group chat. And this is something that I'm only going to do for you guys here live that are with us on the call. If you're watching the replay, then this is not going to apply to you right now.
All right, there you go. You should be able to.
Once I drop this link I will give a little more context about what to do with it. Make sure we're letting people in the room. Guys, please make sure before we do this. Yep.
Darby, you want to make a co-host and I can meet them? Or do you focus on?
Yeah, let me do that. I'm going to make Marcus a co-host here just so you guys can see this. And just if you haven't picked up on it yet, this is not your traditional webinar launch sort of event. I don't have anything to sell you other than a book that I should probably be charging a lot more than $29 for, to be honest with you. But I'm not going to, because I want you guys to succeed right out the gate when it comes to creating content with AI. I'm going to make you the host, Marcus, just to take over that. And the whole process of this buyer's brief book is the foundational process that we have been refining and developing and testing and iterating on for the past 3 years, really, since we first started figuring out how to create content with Jasper back in early 2021. The content brief in terms of context that you're providing AI has always been the 80-20 of the quality of outputs that you're going to get. The problem is, what do I need to tell AI to get the better outputs? And it's not always about the prompts. It's not always about the new fancy tool or what AI can do. It's more so about what do you specifically need AI to do in terms of integrating into your business and your strategy. Then how do we get AI to help accelerate that process? And so what I want you guys to do right now, and this is a time sensitive thing because we are limited to just an hour on this call, I want everyone to go through and click that link that I just dropped in the chat. I'm going to share my screen so you guys can see exactly what to do. Actually, Marcus, can you let me share my screen? So I'm going to walk you guys through how to fill out this form, and I'll show you exactly why and everything that you're going to get with the book. So you can go and do this on your own. You could do individual sections. You can do the entire buyer's brief or just pick out the pieces that you need right now. Make sure you guys see my screen. Just a quick thumbs up, somebody right here. You see it? Cool. All right. So this is a simple intake form we built on Google Forms, where we're going to ask you a few questions about your business, right? So right now, I want you to be thinking about who you are, who do you serve, how do you serve them, and sharing a bit of information about your business right now. If you don't feel comfortable filling something out on here, that's fine. If you don't want us to share the information in the form of a case study and just an example of how this process works, you can select disagree or you can select agree and may just highlight your business in your brief on a YouTube video. But basically what we need from you is just a number of things. Is describing your product or service, right? Who you are, who you serve, and how you serve them. Give me your name, and then again, name of your business. Some of this stuff might be a little redundant here. We're still finalizing some of these forms, and let me know how the experience goes for you guys once you fill it out. But your website, industries you're in, who's your target audience, and kind of the more description you can give here, the better, but we really want to focus it in on. And so I'd like you guys to just, for the next 5 minutes, open up this form and go through individually. Fill out the information that, should be aware of, at least to some degree, each one of these sections. Buying intent signals. Is there anything that someone might be doing that signals to you that they are interested in buying? Any type of content that you're currently producing, any specific formats like YouTube, short form content, reels, brand voice, that sort of thing. And then just a brief overview of the general marketing that you're doing and anything else that you would think is important to add in terms of context. So fill this out because we've been working on our system that is going to take effectively what you are going to be able to do and create for yourself, for your own business, and for clients that you work with, in helping them develop their own buyer's briefs, implement content at scale, and ultimately have an aligned strategy that is going to help the brand, you, or a business that you work with clarify their messaging, and be better positioned on the market where you're at. So go ahead and give me just like a yes in the chat when you submit your form. Let me know when you've done it, because I want to make sure that we get some examples in here. So like I said, this is going to happen live right now. Take a few minutes. I'm not trying to rush you, but I want you guys to see how this can actually work as we continue to develop and to innovate with AI tools, because what you see right now, and what, as I walk you through the different sections of the book and how to go about building these yourself, has grown enormously over the past 2 to 3 years. And from just a matter of 600 characters 3 years ago that we could provide Jasper in a content brief to start producing blogs and social media content, we're able to now leverage tools like Chat and ChatGPT and Claude, and naming like Claude 3 this past week. Incredibly powerful. And it allows us to take the workflows that we're going to be giving you guys access to inside of the book and taking it to really the next level. So as you guys are filling that content brief out, or the MarketSauce 9000 Lite edition, I'm going to then direct your attention to the next link once you fill that out, which is the book and the resources. So we're here for the virtual launch of the book. We're going to continue to do promotion on this book, obviously, as we refine and get more dialed in with the actual Amazon, KDP, physical editions, manual thank you, confirming you completed it. And this is just step one, right? We've been working pretty tirelessly over the last 3 months to refine the system and the recipe and the contents of the book to be practical and actionable for you who are investing your time, let alone like your money and your other resources, but like the time to learn this process. It doesn't just happen overnight, but it is a skill set that you can build on and you can continue to expand on and use to create your own. And I call it a recipe inside of the book as we go through, and as you see me refer to as a recipe, because I think of these recipes and these prompts and all of the different things with AI as the ingredients that we can use, and we can pick and choose which ingredients we want to use to ultimately create the content and the messaging that is going to communicate what we want to the world. And so with that said, is this book is giving you a lot of those ingredients, and it's up to you as the chef in the kitchen that has access to all of these ingredients to test things out, to taste test, to try combining different ingredients together and see what you can create as part of them. And so when we're looking in here inside of the book resource section, on my right hand, on the left hand side, once you guys buy the book, there's a link in the book that'll take you to a place where you can log in to get access to this. Many of you already had access to this as part of the community, or you've pre-ordered the book beforehand, so you've got access to it now. If you don't have access to this for some reason you think you should, just shoot me a message and we'll make sure to get you squared away ASAP. But ultimately, this is a digital complementary digital portal to all the content that's inside of the book. And you're going to see this grow and evolve over the next few weeks, especially, but certainly over the next few months as we continue going on towards the launch. Front part of the book is simple introductory disclaimers. We've got some testimonials, a preface that kind of gives some like initial context to what you're going to be looking at here, a few acknowledgements, a forward, and then an introduction that leads us all into the meat of everything, which is the buyer's brief. Discover what drives your best customer's buying decision in seconds. This is just simply going to give you a Google Doc that is your manuscript. We will get this formatted in EPUB. We'll have it on Kindle. We'll have a paperback edition of this as well. But this document is your resource for 3 key things. One, inside of this document is a manuscript that I like Google Docs because you can, on the left-hand side, you can go up and down. You can very quickly go to the different sections of the book, and it's about 115 pages. 8.5 by 11 as it's formatted here. So there's quite a few pages, but I'm going to show you exactly where you need to go to grab the stuff to start putting it in action inside of ChatGPT, inside of Claude, and I haven't really used it inside of any of the other LLMs at this point. Usually we stick with Anthropic and OpenAI at this point. The way this book is structured is pretty simple. Part 1 is the MarketSauce method that we go into some detail about what this methodology is, but primarily it's a system to facilitate market research at scale using AI. And I've included the first part with actual examples of me running this exact recipe that you're seeing here with the context from our testimonials and the preface for the book. And so it's literally taking that context and it's examples of how the prompts that you'll see are creating those outputs. Part 2 is the instructions or the ingredients that we're going to be utilizing in terms of prompts, instructions, commands, whatever you want to call it. These are the inputs that we're going to provide AI to map that with your context to give you the outputs. And then part 3 is case studies. And by case studies, I am like literally meaning these are demonstrations of buyer's briefs that we've ran through this process for a number of different industries that you'll have access to maybe pick out industries that are most relevant to you that you want to see, get some inspiration from, but also look at how this can be applied to so many different niches and markets. And so with part 1, it's a lot of content. I'll just point blank, there's a lot of instruction here in part 1. Many of you who have already gone through this recipe in some way, shape, or form might be very familiar with a lot of the different instructions and context. Basic lingo, how we indicate a command. Just by some of the basic lingo you can find, or the legend and lingo here, the brackets indicate a variable, and this is going to be the key for the inputs that you're putting here in the context. And that's what you guys have been doing with the form that you've been submitting out. And additional prompts for you as you're going through and thinking, what kind of context do I want to be providing before running a buyer's brief is, again, who's your target audience? Like, what's the number one goal? Why do they want what they want? Industries, where are they located? A lot of these questions you've already seen on the form that I just shared with you. We start with this context because AI knows a lot about a lot of things, but without any kind of focus, it can be very general. And so we want to provide and do more work on getting the right context in up front to make sure that the outputs are going to be more dialed in. So ultimately, what we want to do is focus things into all those questions to honing it down into the product or service, the segment we're serving, this is our niche, and this is additional context. And so this is right now what is running in the background that, barring any technical issues here in the next 10 to 20 minutes, you guys might get a surprise in your inbox as part of the gift for filling out that form. So when we start to dive into each section here, it's split into really 5 core parts, where section 1 is the master buyer's blueprint. This was a massive project that I was working with John Benson from then Copy Pro, inventor of the video sales letter, and now his software Get Benson or just Benson. If you go to getbenson.com, BNSN, you can learn more about that from just using blueprints for direct response copy. Much of everything that you create in any sort of content, any sort of copy, if you're wanting to market a product, you want to be talking to somebody and speak directly to an audience and understanding their pain points, their fears, their dreams, their desires, addressing the different false assumptions, and then educating them through your content, whether that's books or courses or your blogs or your Twitter account, wherever you're reaching your audience on social media. You want to be speaking their language and addressing things that are relevant to them specifically. But I'd be willing to bet that if you think you know your audience, you're probably missing people that could potentially be your audience. Your message is maybe just not being catered towards them, and your positioning might just need to get tweaked a little bit. And that's exactly where you can utilize the buyer's blueprint to help you with figuring out more clarity on your positioning. And for example, when you get into here, and this is how the entire part one is structured. So I'm not going to walk through the entire thing in part one, but you can see up here at the top, product or service equals AI-driven comprehensive buyer's persona market segment research methodology. That's the name that I started when I did this initial buyer's brief as an example. I mean, I did this probably 2 months ago. So just for context, this is purely for example's sake. Segment, and this was referencing the preface and the testimonials that we provided earlier in this document. So it identified, and I was using ChatGPT to help me with identifying these segments: tech-savvy marketing professionals and data-driven businesses. Then the niche, AI-enhanced market analysis and persona development. Then here's this extra context, right? It's talking about an AI-powered tool designed for market research. So all of these things are critical because every single one of the inputs that you now see below here, just replace this context with whatever business you're working with, or your business, or an idea that you have that you'd want to do some research on. All these inputs are going to go back and look at the context that you provided. And so if you have a really weak set of instructions and context at the front, there's a good chance that your outputs are going to be weaker. And so again, we want to focus in on that core context of who we're serving, what's our product, and what's the segment in the niche first, to then buy all of these examples, inputs, outputs. So you can see these instructions right here. When you go through and run these instructions with your context in your business, you'll get an output that will look similar to this, maybe not exactly the same, but it'll look similar. And we'll start going from the top down. Again, if you want to see every individual section, I've included, totally transparently, I was using Claude 3 for a lot of this to help with adding some initial notes and instructions for just what are each one of these sections specifically, and how do they relate to what we're creating here. And as I say that, if you guys are going through the book and you're reading a section and something is just not clicking, maybe it's a little confusing how something is worded or otherwise, just send me an email directly, Darby@GenAI University. Let me know where you're running into an issue with the manuscript, or maybe need some more clarity or context. And I'm more than happy to provide some extra clarity or possibly even just update the manuscript. And so part one is this. It's example notes from myself and what are some additional context points, what's the input, and then what is the output. And so as you go down top to bottom for all of these, it's input, output, input, output. And as you can see, it's quite a lot of content that you end up generating with this, but ultimately it's all being prepared based on the inputs of the prompts that are reflective of the context that you're providing here up front. So again, I'm not going to go through and read every single one of these verbatim, but just to show you in that first part, if you want to go through and look individually about a completed brief with the prompt, with an example, the output, and some additional context, that's what part one is going to be for. Now, that said, I want to show you now part two. Do this. Hyperlinking some of these together so you guys can go through and zoom to the next part. Part two is the straight up recipe that we are utilizing to execute this workflow. And like I said, we've been doing some work with make.com, setting up automations, utilizing OpenAI and assistants to help with creating these at a more automated way. But I'll also be demonstrating how you can very quickly fire up ChatGPT and Claude and start to running these yourself. And that was on me. And so same thing, a quick refresh in part two for some of just the legend and the lingo. We don't need this one. And now we've got it linked to each of the different sections, right? So we've got our master buyer's blueprint. Then we've got our strategic creator brief. After we get those two done, we've got our social micro content and then the brainstorming questions, followed up to wrap up the buyer's brief with insights and more, which helps with giving some implementation guidance, a conclusion, and an intro, so that if you're wanting to reference what's going on inside of a brief that you created for yourself or for a client, you can utilize some of those commands at the bottom of this recipe to help with pulling in additional insights from the content that you've created. And on the same note, there are several workshops that we've included in part of the resource in the bonus section in your portal. We just went over the manuscript. Right now, you can get just the recipe in the MarketSauce 9000, and then we'll cover the mini series in a second. But these workshop resources and bonus trainings are going to be over-the-shoulder looks at a completed buyer's brief. From buyer's brief to branded messaging blueprint with AI is a recent, just this last week, we did with Bruce Fleck, a member of the community, sharing his format for taking a buyer's brief and turning it into branded messaging, following some of his frameworks. And so all of these demonstrations that we're showing here are how to take this and now go and implement it and utilize it in your business in a number of different ways. And the additional resources that I'm showing you right now, and this might change depending on what time you're coming back and reading through the book, but I wanted to include, for those of you that wanted to actually build your own blueprint assistants, some training on that we've developed for just very simple setting up a ChatGPT, buyer's blueprint GPT. You set up a lot of GPTs following the instructions that we're giving you here in this section, but that's just a 20-minute video. The second video here is an interview I did with Chris Lannon, who, as I've mentioned, again, has been helping us with the automation side of things for taking this buyer's brief and then turning it into an automation using a platform like Make that is extremely powerful for all sorts of automations. And then a similar thing with the custom AI workflow, which is how to go through and build your own workflows and build your own frameworks using AI, and then applying what you learn inside of the GPT training and the custom workflow training to, again, streamline, automate, and scale up different processes inside of your marketing and in your business operations. And so that's the bonus resource section. And each section of the book itself is going to have a complimentary video that we're still in the process of editing the last few episodes. But you'll see introduction, episode 1, episode 2, and episode 3. Each of these is going to be a very quick, like mini type of video where it's just me sharing a bit. We did some editing to make it a little bit more interactive to watch and basically help you guys get up to speed, especially if it's your first time walking through this process with like, where does each section really apply to you and your business? And this entire mini series you're going to be able to watch in under an hour, and that's assuming you're not using any sort of video speeding up your video or doing anything like that. So we've covered part 1 of the book inside of the buyer's brief. Discover what drives your best customers to buy in seconds, buying decision in seconds. Part 2 is the actual recipe. I've just been calling it MarketSauce 9000 because a lot of the feedback I've gotten, especially as of late, as we just push this thing to the limit, is that it's been a bit extreme. Intense has been a few words that people have used to describe it, not necessarily in a bad way, but also it's a lot of content. And I totally get that. And that's why we're working now on some lighter versions that take this fully robust MarketSauce 9000 buyer's brief. And you'll see more and more of those updates coming from us over the next few months, because this is a lot of everything that is fantastic if you're trying to bring an idea to market and create all the content and everything all at once. But also keep in mind, you can run any section of this buyer's brief individually. You can take individual prompts, and you can use this as a reference, a resource, and a guide that, based on the situation that you're at any given point in time in your business, you can come back to the book, reference the prompt, reference the section, create the content, take inspiration, and then go put it into action. So inside of section 2 or part 2 of the book, it's simply a blank slated version of the buyer's brief. And so this right here would be where you would add in your product or service, your segment, your niche, additional context. And then following these instructions right here, this is what you give the AI and give your whatever you're using, ChatGPT or Claude or something else, to simply start to run and execute the same recipe that you could see the examples above at the top, as well as all the case studies below. And I'm not going to go through any of the case studies, open up those files right now. But when you go down to the case study section, just so you're aware of where it's at inside of the manuscript, these are all examples of done one. I've done buyer's briefs. So Kelly Tenney, for example, in the education design industry, you can see some more information on her website, LinkedIn, Instagram. We try to include some links back to people and their business if you want to learn more about what they're up to specifically. But you can get a kind of an overview of what each one of these buyer's briefs are, and then go and check out any number of these buyer's briefs. And we've included, I think, 24 right now. We may add some more as things go, but I think this was enough to get the ball rolling on that front. And so all of that said, I want to do a quick check-in with Chris. How are we doing on the automation stuff?
Great.
We're doing good.
Yep.
Cool. I haven't checked the chat box yet. I want to hop in here for 2 seconds, make sure.
There should be a couple people that have them now. There's like 3 people that have them right now.
Cool. So yeah, so we got Marcelo, Penny, Z, Sergio, Emmanuel, Christian, Marcelo, Assad. I think Jason, I think you got it. Okay, cool. Razvan completes. Rachel, I'm not sure if you got the form above, but definitely go and submit your content in there while we still got some time. Again, we're less than 30 minutes out right now, guys. This is a real-time experiment with how we're running these automations live. And my fingers are crossed that here in just a few minutes, if you check your email inbox that you submitted, that you'll actually see the buyer's brief with the context complete blueprint. So one section of the total buyer's brief for you to use and utilize inside of your business. And so all that said, I'm going to jump back up here and just give a quick demo of how you can go about utilizing this process right now inside of your business. So I'm going to move up to my buyer's brief for blank. So this is the MarketSauce 9000 recipe. You'll see a section where you just have access to this recipe inside of your resource section. So make sure that you are just aware that is there for you. But now I'm going to go ahead and open up my good friend Claude. And I'm using Claude 3 for this demonstration because it is very powerful and it's been very useful for us to utilize over the past few weeks since Claude made this update. I'm going to show you how we start to fill this out and how you can follow along with filling this out on your own. So do a quick example. We got buyer's brief for product or service. I'm going to think of what product or service we should do. Do a boring business.
Porta potties.
All right, buyer's. So a boring, ugly, smelly business, porta potties. Thank you, Jordan, from the crowd. We appreciate your input here. So I'm going to say, I'll just use my buddy's company. He actually runs a porta potty rental restroom business called Alpha Mobile Restrooms here in Central Texas. I'm not joking. Go and Google it. If you need restrooms for an event, hit them up, let them know I sent you. And Alpha Mobile Restroom Trailers. If you don't believe me, I'll show you his website. I built it for him. But yeah, so buyer's brief for product. So I'm going to say product or service, Alpha Mobile Restroom Trailers. All right. So that's first thing is first. Say the segment that I'm targeting is, I'm going to say wedding events coordinators as like the segment of the market I'm going to be talking about. And so niche wedding event coordinators, I'll just say weddings context. We provide. And see, if I had more time, I would spend it to go to the website. I'd take all the information in. It's not my business. And so it's not just coming naturally right off the top of my head. I'll say like we provide luxury mobile restroom trailers for outdoor wedding venues in Central Texas, serving clients year round with the cleanest portable restroom experience. Cool. But I'm also going to say we also do other events related to this type of industry. All right. So now that I've got my context in, like this is, if this is not on point with what you're looking to even research or create content with, then the outputs are going to probably not be what you're expecting. But assume that this is good for where we're at now. I'm going to now go back into the manuscript, and I'm going to go now to copy the instructions. So I'm going to copy these instructions. and simply copy these all the way down here to reference, start here and execute the input with the instructions. So now I've got the context. I'm going to move back into Claude. I'm going to paste those instructions. Once I've set the table, I'm going to press enter and now sit back and watch Claude do his work. So now we see executing the individual instructions provides luxury portable restrooms for outdoor venues, cleanest, most upscale. It's giving me some more idea, market segmentation, wedding event coordinators, likely 25 to 45, 80% female. I'd be willing to bet that's probably closer to true. Any stats that you get from any AI, I would recommend going and just fact checking any of these stats, but it's giving you, based on the context that it knows, more filled out information of the start of this brief. So you see the role and goal of the business, and to provide the go-to solution. They need to upscale their outdoor wedding venue restroom needs. Reliable. They struggle with outdoor venue limitations, especially the restroom situation. And reading through here, if I'm looking at things to create content around or pain points that I might not be addressing in my marketing or messaging, I'm looking at this for things that the gold nuggets that I can pull out and then utilize inside of my marketing, my content, my emails, and just understanding more so where is this specific segment at right now. And as we're diving deeper, we see it's going into the perfectionist mindset. Wedding coordinators are often perfectionists with personalities, extremely high standards for themselves and everyone they work with. Even the small imperfections feel unacceptable and cause internal distress. So I'm like, okay, where are people like really feeling like pain points associated with the product or service that I'm providing, but specifically what's going on in their world and how can I meet them where they're at? And every time we run this with Claude, in Claude 3, it's just, showing like incredible amounts of output based on what was even possible a number of weeks ago with this tool. And so again, if I didn't know, like I was even trying to target wedding coordinators or something along those lines, and I was just getting into this in the start, I would probably keep my content brief more broad, start the research process. And then as I started getting more ideas about, that is actually a good segment that I want to focus in on, you can always go back and refine your content brief, the context up here to inform the instructions. And then once you have those initial instructions set, it's simply a matter of coming back through, going through to section 1 and identifying more things that are keeping them up at night. What are their goals? What are the descriptors of those goals, the positive feelings that they're experiencing? What are their dreams? What are their objections? What are their negative feelings, their fears, their promises? You can get quite a bit of this information very quickly, again, if you know where to go. And right now, I'm going to Claude for this stuff, but you can certainly utilize ChatGPT as well, following this exact same structure. And again, watching Claude now having one of its moments where it's not wanting to give me information. AI, as they say, it doesn't feel comfortable playing a world-class marketing role. So this is where we have to do some breath work and make sure to remind yourself that this is just a machine that is being trained on something one day and maybe something else the next. So sometimes it might not always go the way that you want it to go, especially when you're doing a presentation of it live. So just bear with me, but keep in mind, this is how it goes with AI. I'm simply going to click rerun and see if Claude's going to have a change in attitude, which it did. And now we're back on track, ladies and gentlemen. Now we're jumping into the goals. And when we look at our primary goal when it comes to a wedding coordinator, they want to create a flawless high-end wedding that exceeds the client's expectation. If I'm a mobile restroom rental business, like, am I coming in and just being like, hey guys, like I sell porta potties, like you want some? Or do I want to come in and see how I can position my business to help my client, which is the wedding coordinator, create a flawless high-end wedding? And how do I support them in hitting those goals? And so based on that goal, what are some topics that we can talk about? The wow factor, seamless execution, studying aesthetics, unforgettable events. Like these are all words and language that I can incorporate into my emails, my social media, my website copy. And also primary complaints. Do you really want tacky porta potties to ruin a meticulously designed ambiance? So you want to have all this time spent on all the things that are going on at your event, then you have these ugly, tacky porta potties that suck. No, you don't want that. But now I know that I could like position myself against a tacky porta potty versus a luxury porta potty. And which one do you want? The choice is obvious, but if I'm not speaking to the complaints, unsightly portable toilets, wasting time micromanaging subpar restroom suppliers, I imagine in the world, especially of these maybe like real world, maybe boring businesses, that there's a lot of subpar clients or subpar suppliers and vendors that they might not even want to work with, or they might have to because that's their supply for a particular thing. And so this could open up room for me to come and get some market share because I'm just providing a better service, but I'm also understanding what problems that they're experiencing right now. So then we get to the complaints, we get to different topics. And if you want more about the actual, like the prompts behind these, part 1 and part 2 are going to have all the prompts. Part 1 of the book is going to have some more context around the prompts. And then ultimately, it's about running it and refining it and feeding more data back into it once you get more data back from your conversations with the market and putting the stuff into action. And then running it back through another recipe with additional data points that are ultimately going to go to informing your marketing copy and your language to speak and to directly where your customers are at and what's actually motivating them to buy, right? That's the whole purpose of the book, is to help giving you those insights that can allow you to go and make more informed decisions, gain that clarity to help you better position yourself on the market, and then ultimately use that to win more business and get ahead of the game. So again, as we get down here, dreams, objections, you don't want to risk your reputation, can't afford, right? All these things are like FAQs, different sections of our website, blogs, YouTube videos. If this, I don't know exactly what kind of content this company is putting out right now, but this would certainly be a good starting point for topics to create YouTube videos around, and at least to include in the marketing website. So that is the very first part of section 1 of the MarketSauce 9000 buyer's brief that you guys have access to right here inside of the manuscript. And again, keep an eye out for the EPUB and like Kindle and paperback as we come up with those. And also as you guys are going through this, and if you have feedback going through the book, let me know. What's going good? What were you running into maybe some roadblocks as you're running these recipes yourself? And then if you want just the recipe, I've also included that in a section. So you can take this and you can quite literally pull open a ChatGPT instance where I've also created a GPT that has this recipe in the background going on, where we open this. I'm just going to use the same example, take my content brief right here, and let's do this. And now here, I'm just going to go alpha. Now, this GPT has got all of the commands, all of the prompts, all the ingredients that we've provided it going on in the background. And it's helping me do this again right out the gate, not even copying and pasting. And this is a bonus as part of the book. It's just a resource that I've made in creating the book. And now I'm giving you guys access to it because you have the book. And so you can see we're in here, we're getting the context, and then we're going through and systematically executing the rest of the recipe to create our brief that is going to help us with taking our ideas and putting them into action faster to make a greater impact on the market, and then keeping in mind, this is not a set it and forget it. It's not a one and done type of thing. Realistically, you should be coming in and updating one of these briefs at least once a quarter. If you're running marketing campaigns and getting data back, I would recommend even faster, even more often than that. If you are just depending on like the volume and the feedback that you're getting, you might get a lot of feedback in the first few weeks, run another buyer's brief and gain some more insights based on that feedback and refine the messaging that you're including in your marketing. So I'm going to pause right there because those are my quick demos and overview. And Z said she would love to see the website that I built for these guys. So I did say I'll show you guys. Yeah, these guys are in business right now and they're out here, they're doing the thing. And I'm going to send them over some of this context just because we just made it for them. But yeah, just simple website. These guys are renting out luxury restroom rental trailers here in Central Texas. And just one example of what you can do with these buyer's briefs. And yes, Opus that I was demonstrating in Claude is on the paid version and they just rolled it out. So I believe that's $20 a month. And that'll give you access to all the capabilities of Opus and what it can do. So I'm looking back up now. We've got some time, about 10 minutes left here on this initial call. Derek, you said done and received. So you got your brief. Did anybody else? Emmanuel, you got you received it. Matt completed. So I'm not sure, Chris, if we've been running.
He's in the queue.
Okay, cool. So Matt, yours is in the queue right now. Assad, you got yours. And so, yeah, guys, I'd love to get the feedback once you have time to review the blueprints that you got and let me know, because that was all happening pretty much real time. Yeah, Penny, yours is in the book. Yep. Yeah, Penny's been a part of one of our mastermind groups for over a year now at this point. So a lot of our group over the past 6 months, we've been just doing some really cool stuff on the automation side, but also utilizing just some of these briefs as case studies. I got Marcella received it, Christian received it. So it looks like it's working. The experiment is not a failure to launch. Got liftoff, guys. Cool. All in all, I guess to wrap things up for today, thank you guys for being here and being a part of the launch and the community. And ultimately the goal of this book and the time that we've been putting into it and the system that we've been developing that you're seeing here for the first time ever being done live with people on a Zoom call. This is still just like phase one of some pretty big plans that we've got cooking over the course of the year. And one of my big goals for the first quarter was to get this book out and start to actually get the automation to where it wasn't taking me an hour to create one of these every time on my own. And now we've got it done in a matter of minutes to where you can tap into this technology as a part of our community and as just an owner of the book. You can go and run these recipes inside of large language models like ChatGPT, like Claude, and maybe you want to explore some of the other tools out there. There's a number of other AI language models that will operate in some similar regard to how you just saw me demonstrate it here. And I hear that the link is not working, so give me 2 seconds, guys. I might have to adjust a setting on it. Oh, that's why anyone with the link. Let's do that. All right, cool. I just updated the setting. And so if you guys go ahead and refresh that GPT, you should be able to get it. And so I asked the question, where can we buy the book to gift it? If you do want to, it's not available on Amazon right now. And when it is, I'm sure that there's a way to gift books on Amazon. But if not, in the meantime, if you'd like to gift a book, then you can just purchase one directly through the book order link. It still says pre-order because I haven't updated it just yet. But if you order one, then just respond to the email that you buy through and send me the information of who you'd want to get access to that book. And so if you guys want to, you go to genaiuniversity.com/BB book, buyer's brief book. That'll take you to the page that will allow you to purchase copies of the book. And you should be able to purchase multiple, but if not, again, if you run into any issues, just let me know and we'll figure things out on the tech side. This is something that we're going to continue to be building out over the course of the year. And so I'm really looking forward to hearing how it's working for you in your business as you're going and putting this into action, and what you're learning from the buyer's brief as a process, and what you're learning about your customers that you didn't know before. Because I know that, especially, and I mentioned this at the beginning part of the book, that as a founder or as an entrepreneur, you can develop this thing I'm calling product market scotoma, where you develop blind spots because you're so close to your product and you have a hard time seeing the rest of the market and where that product can fit. And so a buyer's brief is a great way to help give you some additional perspective and some clarity by helping you step back from being so close to your product that you'll understand new ways and new markets that you could enter that could be right under your nose right now. You're just too close to see it. And so hopefully this will help with that and much, much more. And if you guys want to, and the additional resources that we're going to have and provide inside of this book as it continues to evolve, you'll get access inside of our community. The front matter and the introductions right here. And then you've got the book, you've got the MarketSauce 9000, you've got your case studies, and then you've got a buyer's brief mini series here that'll just give you that right to the point, what each section of the book is for and how to apply it. And then the MarketSauce Method workshop also has some great over-the-shoulder conversation interview with our coach Kelly Tenney, some additional GPTs as resources in that workshop. But which one is it? Let me see. The actual Mind Reader GPT I've included with the MarketSauce 9000. And this is the first time I've shared this GPT link with anybody, even inside of our community. So you guys are the first to get your hands on it. And I'd recommend using this GPT either directly, like you saw me start to work with it and giving it the prompts and the context. And a lot of times it'll stay in the right direction. Sometimes it doesn't, goes off the rails. And so if you use that GPT in line with the prompts from each section of the book, you'll be much more successful with ensuring you get all of the different pieces of the buyer's blueprint, of the strategic brief, and everything else that you got access to as part of the book. So thank you all again for being part of our virtual book launch for the buyer's brief book. Keep an eye out for our announcements when we do come out on Amazon, and for the paperback versions, so you can keep getting your hands dirty. But right now, my goal from this week and this hackathon today that we are at here with other members of our community here in Austin, Texas, was to get this to the point where it's useful and it's actionable for you right now to go and implement right away in your business, so that you could have a completed buyer's brief for yourself or for a client by 8 a.m. tomorrow morning, if you wanted to run it that fast. So appreciate you guys being here. And as always, you'll see you on the other side inside of the community and on our YouTube channel. If you're not already subscribed there, make sure to go subscribe. And yeah, guys, if you are just watching this as the replay and you're wondering how to get access to a done for you MarketSauce, head on over to genaiuniversity.com. And we do offer the actual automation system as a service. And we're including a few different updates to that we'll be announcing over the next few weeks for some lighter versions that aren't necessarily the entire buffet, that take a few different sittings to eat the whole thing. But let me know how it works for you. And until next time, keep common AI on. See you on the other side, guys. Cheers.